Good.
The boxing world is buzzing with anticipation as Moses Itauma prepares to step into the ring against the experienced Whyte.
Moses Itauma.
Dillian Whyte is looking lean. I like what I'm seeing from Dillian Whyte. It's making me actually think about things. My perception originally of this fight was Dillian Whyte based upon what we've seen in his last two, where he's looked slow, fleshy, and just not interested. Man's looking interested in recent clips.
He knows he's been sent over there, lamb to the slaughter.
Yep.
And it's like, they think this little kid's gonna just ice me. No. That's exactly it, right? So he must, and because of who he is, Dillian Whyte's a roadman.
Yeah.
He must hear this. Forget the boxing side of things. Like, this is gonna sound so stupid, yeah? If you are a bit of a bad boy on the road, yeah, and you're 37,
yeah,
you think you're accepting walking past a bunch of 21-year-olds and one of those 21-year-olds calls you out to a fight, that you're gonna duck and run. So he's probably looking at Moses. He's not even looking at it from a boxing point of view. He's looking at it from a man to kid point of view. Now you're a kid.
This clash is more than just a regular fight. It's a defining moment for the 20-year-old rising star. Itauma, undefeated with a record of 12 wins and 10 knockouts, has already made waves in the heavyweight division, but this fight will be his toughest test by far. On the other hand, Dillian Whyte is a seasoned veteran, known for his explosive power and gritty style. But after recent struggles and disappointing performances, many are questioning whether Whyte still has what it takes to compete at the highest level.
Obviously, it's a must-win fight. Obviously, I'm going up against the next Mike Tyson, as in he's been compared to Mike Tyson and a lot of great fighters. I'm just little old me. I never been compared to a journeyman in a great era. He's been compared to Mike Tyson. So
for a while now, Whyte has seemed to be on the decline. After his loss to Tyson Fury in 2022, where he didn't look his best, Whyte has been facing opponents far below the caliber of the top-tier heavyweights. Some fans and analysts believe that Whyte is past his prime, with many predicting that this upcoming bout could be the one that ends his career. In fact, several figures in the boxing world have openly stated that they think the fight could be an early night for Whyte, with the young challenger Itauma expected to make quick work of the veteran.
There's absolute validity to that fight. If Moses goes in and does a number on Dillian Whyte, then you can't hold him back, and you're not going to hold him back. And neither one fighter is disadvantaged or advantaged in that. Neither one of them is a champion. They're both fighting for a belt, so there's huge validity in that fight for Moses Itauma to be a world champion, or to Joseph Parker to gain back a world title. Having been a world title once holder himself. I think it's a great fight. But it'll be fascinating to see how Moses goes against Dillian. I don't think they put him in against Dillian Whyte if they think there's real jeopody for them. I think they might get a few rounds and get asked a few more questions than possibly they've been asked by Marius Wack and Dempsey McKean. But I don't think they think much more than that. And I'm surprised at Dillian taking the fight.
I think very quickly, I think that we find out about Moses Itauma and whether he's at that level right now in Saudi Arabia, and that determines whether he boxes for that WBO title or whether he doesn't, whether he's not quite ready, and I think that's where we're at with it.
Sean Porter has been vocal about his concerns for Whyte's health. He's pointed out that while Whyte is a classic heavyweight with the big punches and hooks, he's also at a point in his career where taking those kinds of shots could be damaging. Whyte is 37 years old now, and Porter, who retired in 2021 after a tough loss to Terence Crawford, believes that the British boxer should have called it a day much earlier. His point isn't rooted in personal dislike for Whyte, but rather in a genuine concern for his health after so many years in the ring. The reality is, at this stage in his career, Whyte is taking punches from heavyweights in 10-ounce gloves, and those shots can have lasting effects on his future.
Looking at this fight against Itauma, and it's basically that fight's to position him. You knock off this guy who was there, and it's like the next step is only the tippy top.
If he gets past him, who would y'all not the tippy top, but who would you throw him in there with?
Shit.
I guess I'm like, does that get you a Usyk fight?
Beating Whyte. I mean, technically, they could do it. He is.
They would probably
the number one ranked WBO challenger. Parker is ahead of him. Parker is the interim WBO champion.
Right.
What if he fight my man that just lost him, Dubois?
That's a good fight. That's a good fight. I think Itauma, the big problem for Whyte in this fight is going to be speed, just to make it simple. But two things for Moses Itauma, who I said a couple months ago here on the show, the hype is real, the hype is deserved, and I definitely stand by that. But young fighters have to be careful with their hubris. It's a very thin line. You have to be extremely confident to believe you can knock out every other man on the planet that's your size, and yet at the same time not overconfident, not to be filled with too much hubris before you've proven yourself. And so Itauma, we have to worry about that with him, and the same problem that Jared Anderson had, leaving his chin up.
However, many analysts, including some of Whyte's former rivals and coaches, are skeptical about his chances. Derek Chisora believes that Itauma will win and win decisively. In fact, Chisora predicts that the fight will be so one-sided that the police might have to get involved to stop Itauma's domination of Whyte. He's adamant that Whyte's time has passed, and he sees Itauma as the future of the division. Other boxing figures like Lawrence Okolie, who has been impressed with Itauma's talent from the beginning, also see the young fighter as the favorite in this matchup. Okolie, who sparred with Itauma early in his career, expects the fight to end quickly, with Itauma securing a knockout.
There's some kind of light at the end of the tunnel for Dillian taking that fight.
Ain't no light at the end of that tunnel.
I agree with you. I think I don't think Dillian gets beyond 4 or 5 rounds.
You're crazy. Yeah. There's no light at that tunnel. Not kiddies. No, you mad. No way. Even Lawrence Okolie said Moses is bad.
I don't think they put him in against Dillian Whyte if they think there's real jeopardy for them. I think they might get a few rounds and get asked a few more questions than possibly they've been asked by Marius Wack and Dempsey McKean. But I don't think they think much more than that. And I'm surprised at Dillian taking the fight.
I think just the young gun, man. Look, he's on a roll. Look, Dillian Whyte in his day was good. Not saying that he's not good, but Dillian Whyte was Dillian Whyte. You know what I'm saying? But
is Dillian still capable of causing an upset? What people would see as an upset against Moses?
I mean, look, Moses is super sharp, man. I don't see an upset coming. You know, I'll be real with you. He's super sharp.
I think he's a very neat, tidy boxer. Moses clearly punches hard, fastest hands in the heavyweight division, I think. I think it could be an early night.
It's not just former fighters who are predicting Itauma's victory. Mark Tibbs has also voiced concerns about his former charge. Despite their past working relationship, Tibbs believes that Itauma is simply too much for Whyte at this stage. The speed, power, and athleticism of Itauma are factors that Whyte might struggle to cope with, especially after the recent downturn in his performances. Dave Allen, another heavyweight who has faced Whyte in the past, also sees the younger fighter as the likely winner. Allen, who lost to Whyte in 2016, still respects his power, but he believes that Itauma is the wrong fighter for Whyte to be facing at this point in his career.
To be fair, like I had 11 fights with Dillian. We got to world #1, and so I know Dillian really, really well. I don't like that fight for him. I never thought it'd be a step up for someone. He won't like me saying that. It's just my emotional investment that was in him. But you know, he's done very well, Dillian, and he deserves a big payday. I'm sure. I'm hoping he's getting that. Listen, he's got the experience to upset the apple cart, Dillian. He has. But what's his name? Who's he fighting?
Moses Itauma.
Moses, I beg your pardon. Moses is a serious, responsive operator, and man can pick his punches well. So, yeah, obviously Moses is the favourite for me in that fight. But you know, I like to see someone like Dillian with that art and that mindset and his character. You know, I like Dillian.
Carl Frampton is another voice who has been impressed by Itauma. He praises the young heavyweight's ability to box neatly and efficiently, noting his hand speed as one of the fastest in the division. Frampton also thinks that Itauma has the power to end the fight quickly, and he wouldn't be surprised if it ends in an early knockout. Shane McGuigan, a well-known trainer in the boxing world, is equally confident that Itauma will win. He acknowledges Whyte's toughness and tenacity, but he also believes that Itauma's talent will shine through, and the fight is simply a case of bad matchmaking for Whyte at this point in his career.
I think it's good night, Mr. Whyte.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think that the matchmaking's great for him?
Not for Dillian, I don't know. I think it's great for Moses because ultimately he gets he gets a decent name like Dillian Whyte on his resume, which isn't the Dillian Whyte that was fighting 2 or 3 years ago. If he blasts him out, which I think he will, then Moses, the mythology around Moses just gets bigger and wider and more bankable.
There'll be a bit of hype around the fight as well, which will raise Moses' profile too.
Yeah. Another question for you then. So if you say it's not good matchmaking for Dillian Whyte, where would you put Dillian Whyte then? That's what I'm saying. Like, what opportunity is going to come from?
Well, the last time I opened
him?
my mouth about Whyte, I put him in with Fabio Wardley and got smacked around everybody for being a bit of a tit. So I'm not even going to answer that question. Thanks very much.
Brilliant.
How do you see it in the event that this fight is made, which we all think it will be? I do think it will be Moses Itauma. Yeah. I do think that he will go through Dillian, and I think he'll go through him compellingly. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you.
You think the same?
I just think that timing is key in boxing. Dillian Whyte's been a great ambassador for the sport. I don't think he's the fighter he once was, and I think that Moses Itauma is something special, and I think he wins and wins quite comfortably.
Yeah, I agree with you, Spencer, and I think it could be early as well. I think he's a very neat, tidy boxer. Moses clearly punches hard, fastest hands in the heavyweight division, I think. I think it could be an early night.
Even Tony Bellew thinks that Whyte is on his last legs. Bellew, who is known for being blunt and direct, believes that Whyte's days as a top contender are over. He sees the fight as a payday for Whyte, with Itauma being the fighter who will eventually deal with him. Bellew predicts that Itauma will win by knockout, possibly early in the fight. Boxing analysts are overwhelmingly leaning towards Itauma as the favorite in this matchup, and most predict that the young fighter will finish the veteran in short order.
He's not ready for Alexander Usyk in any way, shape or form. A man who hasn't been past 6 or 7 rounds. I think the division isn't that strong when it comes to the amount of ability that he has. I don't think anyone else has that amount of actual ability. What he lacks in experience, he makes up for in clear ability.
Do you think Warren would put him in for a world title shot within a year?
Put him in with Dillian Whyte next. Tells you everything you need to know, because Dillian has beat the likes of Joseph Parker. Dillian has beaten almost all the top heavyweights. So to throw him in with Dillian Whyte, and we haven't seen, even though Dillian isn't at that same level when he beat Joseph Parker, no one's still done him. He's still virtually, I haven't seen him beat for quite a long time. So the matchmaking tells you all you need to know. When he's matched with Dillian Whyte next out, I think that tells you all you need to know, in my opinion. So I expect him to be from Dillian Whyte. Well, you've got to look at it. What's the next step after Dillian Whyte?
I think a few more like that.
Yeah, but who is there? So he goes Dillian Whyte, who does he go next? Joseph Parker? I just think they let him off the leash. He's not ready, don't get me wrong, he's not ready for Alexander Usyk in any way, shape or form. A man who hasn't been past 6 or 7 rounds cannot be ready for Alexander Usyk.
But not everyone is so convinced that Itauma will have an easy time. Tyson Fury has warned that facing a fighter like Whyte could prove to be more difficult than many people expect. Fury, who is known for his sharp mind and understanding of the sport, compared this fight to the shock upset that occurred when Jared Anderson lost to Martin Bakole last year.
That's a good fight, actually, especially for Moses. I think it's a very good time to fight Dillian. He's had a couple of years out the ring, but you know, make no mistakes, Dillian Whyte is a massive puncher.
Frank Warren echoed these concerns. He acknowledges Itauma's knockout power, but also points out that the young fighter's chin has never been tested by a puncher like Whyte. Itauma's early career has been impressive, but Warren believes that this fight will be a real test of his resilience and ability to handle adversity. If the fight goes into the later rounds, it could reveal aspects of Itauma's game that fans have yet to see. This fight, in many ways, is as much about Itauma's potential as it is about Whyte's ability to pull off one last victory before his career comes to a close.
What is your forecast for this fight?
I think he's gonna be in a tough fight. I know he's got the punch power to hurt and stop Dillian Whyte, but I also know that Dillian Whyte also has the punch power to cause damage. And the one thing with Moses at the moment is not that's not been tested. So we'll see.
But do you think are you still a bit tough fight? But you expect him to stop him?
I expect him. I believe he will win the fight. I believe he'll win the fight. How he wins it, we'll see. For me, beating him is a big thing. Right. However he does it, you know, and I want to see the other side of him as well. I want to see him. You know, I want to see him in a tough 12-round fight where he comes through it and boxes his way through it. You know, he's not a one-trick pony. He can box, but as I say, you know, this is a tough one. This is going to be. This is a fans' fight.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
That's what it is. It is a fans' fight.
Filip Hrgović shares similar thoughts. While he respects Itauma's skill, Hrgović believes that Whyte might be able to push the young challenger into deep waters. Hrgović has been impressed with Whyte's ability to take punishment and keep going, and he thinks that Itauma might not have faced anyone with that level of grit and durability. If Whyte can stick to his game plan and come into the fight in good shape, this in turn could create more challenges for Itauma, who hasn't yet been tested in a real battle of attrition.
Here's how Dillian Whyte wins against Moses Itauma. Filip Hrgović has told us. Filip Hrgović has a point in this. It's interesting because Boxing News 24 has reported that he's talked about Moses Itauma's not stamina so much, but stickability. And he's talked about who has he fought in the amateur ranks.
Ultimately, this fight is as much about Itauma's future as it is about Whyte's present. For Itauma, a victory would cement his status as one of the brightest young stars in the heavyweight division, proving that he can hang with the best of them. For Whyte, this might be one of the last chances to prove that he still belongs at the top level of the sport. A loss could signal the end of his career, and he knows it. With both fighters at a crossroads in their respective careers, the stakes have never been higher. As the countdown to the fight begins, the question remains, will Moses Itauma live up to the hype, or will Dillian Whyte prove that experience still has its place in the heavyweight division? Fans are eager to find out, and this fight is sure to provide plenty of drama and excitement.